Okay, so welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're going to be taking a look at Liberated on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's bringing comic book stylings alongside some adventure shooting. The question though, can this one combine the styles and deliver not only a tight storyline that you associate with its influences, but also gameplay that's worth your time? Well, hit subscribe if you are new here, join our growing family, and let's get this started. So Liberated, it's telling the story of a dystopian future where surveillance and being watched every minute and every hour of the day is not only commonplace, but it's also accepted by the masses. Communication, work, credit score, social media, all of it leveraged against you is needed to benefit the powers that oversee this world. That's where the Liberated come in. They're striving to overthrow the powers of this government by leading a revolution to expose those in control and also at the same time educate the masses. Surprisingly though, I will say Liberated on the story front gave me a little more than I expected, not only showing me the tale from the side of the Liberated themselves, but also giving me control of individuals like the police to see what their impression of all of this was. With Alan Moore and Frank Miller cited as influences, that's nearly immediately apparent from the story and the way they weave it all together. I also noticed quite a bit of like a Fight Club air to the whole experience as well, and that's for sure not a bad thing. With the story though taking place over 4 comic book issues comprising of both plot points and adventure shooting levels, you can expect this one to last somewhere in the region of 4 to maybe 5 hours. The story, I will say, is decent, the influence is clear, and while the writing's not perfect and for sure a little heavy-handed at times, I enjoyed it. That said though, there's a few dips in the middle where the pacing just feels slightly off, and then the payoff at the end, I will say for me it was extremely underwhelming, mainly down to the way they presented it. Look, overall fans of their influences will no doubt enjoy the story, but this isn't particularly deep, and I'd summarise it more as like a collection of interwoven moments to work your way through. Also, it's worth knowing here as well, it can be pretty lengthy with its story moments, so you'll be doing a decent amount of watching and reading with this one. So gameplay then, and for the most part as advertised, expect a 2D adventure shooter with some lengthy story moments sandwiched in between. Baked into this core experience then, we get the very occasional decision to make during the story, some awful quick time events that too often lead to immediate death, and then the occasional puzzle which I actually really enjoyed. They're nothing more than really solving like a quick visual challenge as you rotate pieces, and they're not going to challenge you for too long, but they broke up the gameplay while also giving me a sense I was doing something of importance here in keeping with the story and not just going on like mass killing sprees. So the adventure shooting, as they've tagged it here, I've gotta say it's hit and miss. Sadly, probably more miss though. The idea is simple enough, honestly. It's 2D, you move to the right, you kill everyone, and then you repeat. Occasionally then as well, it will throw in a small moment of backtracking, or maybe you need to find a switch to activate your next path, but it is all very, very linear. That's really honestly all there is to it. The movement, actually I gotta say, works fine. The gunplay as well works fine. You aim with the right stick and fire. But the best way I can explain it is it feels underdeveloped. It's all very basic. For example, you can't duck when firing. Surely this would be a sound strategy in battle. You can take cover in the environment at specific points, but you can't shoot from them. Only implement stealth attacks, which is really weird. I feel like shooting from cover would probably be the most fun thing you could do. Then there's endless ammunition here as well, meaning you have no real need to ever worry about what your next move is, and you can just kind of like run right and hold down the shoot button. The best way to sum it up, honestly, is anything that would add a strategy seems to be missing, going more for like a run and gun vibe, but for me that didn't really suit the tonality of the story it's based within. This though, I will say I could at least live with, but there's also some major issues in here as well. First up, the frame rate struggles at points, and you'll very much be able to feel it and see it as you aim towards your enemies. Then the AI, it's lacking, they'll charge towards you, but if you position yourself just right, they'll get confused like this dude above me here, glitching and running in a circle. Worst of all though, this one makes the game super easy. They only shoot within a certain range, so stand far enough away and they'll just stand there as you pump bullets into them like a sponge. They won't react at all. Once I actually figured this out, to be honest, the game lost a lot of its tension because naturally you exploit it. I was just running away, keeping my distance, pressing fire. Even here then, the option to change my gun would have been nice, instead of just forcing it on me what I had to use. Instead, just expect like maybe 5 weapons to experiment with, and you will never get a choice. Overall, look, for gameplay, we have what can be best summed up as a mixed bag. Innocent enough decision moments that don't really hold any weight but won't bother anyone in the story. Quick time events that are cheap and lead to instant death, which is just annoying more than anything. Puzzles which are fun, but then the gunplay, a struggling frame rate, enemy AI that's easy to exploit, arcade run and gun gameplay set to a pace that would probably benefit more from like some sort of like level of tactics, and then even limiting the bullets here would have at least stopped you from simply pointing yourself to the right, as I said, holding that fire trigger and just running for it. I can see the good in here, that's for sure, but it needs a whole lot of tidying up right now as it stands. So graphically speaking then, starting with the comic books, they're stunning. Simulating that hand-drawn imagery while adding a small amount of animation, it's a great way to tell this tale, and I can see why they went for it. It very much suits it. Choosing their influences wisely, as I said before as well, it's definitely, this is where you see it. If you're concerned about handheld then, and especially this like tiny dialogue on screen, because I'll be honest, couldn't read it myself when I started, they've been smart. Jump into the options and you can actually turn on larger text that should fix any of the problems you may have had. When it comes to the gameplay, they're not quite as good. While I love the consistency with, you know, this black and white world, the character models can look a little stiff at times with the animation, and then the low texture detail, while it's clearly a design decision, it doesn't quite work in the game's favour when you factor in the frame rate and a decent amount of pixelation. It just makes it all look a little bit rough. That's probably the best way to put it. Then finally, locations and enemies. The locations jump between great and weak, some flooded with water and you're out to escape, or a forest with drones. Then though, these are sadly layered in with the same old office blocks, desks and crates that we've seen 1,000 times before. Enemies then, and there's very little to say here. There's a really limited number of characters you're going to be fighting against. There's no real like boss moments or any like true standout characters. It's just basically the same ones on repeat over and over again. Look, visuals, they're okay. The comics themselves look amazing. The actual gameplay needs again a little more attention though. If anything, I'd say tidy up the pixelation and work on the enemy models first, just to drive up a little bit more variety for the 5-hour experience we've got. Audio then, and like I say, this is great honestly. Using audio cues to reinforce the action in the comic book moments and gameplay, it works to great effect, and it very much also brings in the digital to the comic experience. While I wish we had some voice acting then too, for the most part I was impressed on a sound effect front for the story. In game, a little bit more on the environmental front would have been nice, but it's far from bad, put it that way. Music then, and I enjoyed it. Sure, it is repetitive, but it has a hint of retro while embodying the cyberpunk feeling it's out to achieve. For the most part, overall, audio is good stuff. There's still a few areas of opportunity, but this is pretty high marks. Overall, Liberated is an experience I was extremely excited for. It was citing incredible influences, and it very much chose a theme I typically enjoy. In fact, for the most part as well, I think it's fair to say the story delivers on everything it sets out to, while even actually surprising me occasionally. Sadly though, it's the rest of the package that lets me down here. Like, sure, the puzzles, they're entertaining, and the decision moments made me feel like I was a part of, you know, everything that was taking place here, but the adventure shooting and quick time events are seriously lacking in quite a few areas, from the minimalistic controls to the area that's just extremely simple to exploit. These should not be problems, these for sure shouldn't be happening. I really was excited for this one though, and that makes the scoring so difficult, but with frame rate issues to top all of this off, and then that relatively high price tag and short runtime, today I'm going to be giving Liberated an average 5 out of 10. It just doesn't have it where it counts. You got the story right, now let's get a few patches in here. Thanks for watching today. Do you agree or disagree with this one? I think I've been absolutely fair, and I'm as disappointed as everyone else who was waiting on this one. Just a few small tweaks though, and this could easily honestly be turned around. With that though, thanks for watching today. If you're new here, hit subscribe, join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.